Does anybody know who Curtis is?
Yes, Maharaj, that's your wonderful companion.
No.
He is.
Curtis, I am so indebted to him.
Can you see
He
him?
helped me so much on the walk across the US. I mean, at the end, from Utah on for a stretch. Wow.
Can you
Krishna
see
Maharaj, thank you.
Curtis, it's such a pleasure to hear from you. Thank you. You were very helpful. I remember you putting your fingers through my toes and putting a squeeze on there, and that gave so much relief. Yeah,
Well, thank you.
when you're walking, that distance every day, 20 miles, well, you get stiff and you get tight, of course, and you need some relief. So, Curtis, I'm so glad that you're with us. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you.
All right. So what we'll do is we'll look at the pranams to Prabhupada. We'll do those two mantras. And then the Panchatattva mantra, Mahamantra. Then we'll go to page 1. So you might just get yourself ready for page 1 of the Bhagavad Gita, right? At the introduction. So we'll start, and if all you can say it together, if you know the mantra, if not, just listen. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Vani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So now we'll go to page 1, and we'll do that invocational mantra. I'll just do it, and you can repeat after me. That's in the Roman transliteration, the first mantra at the top. We've got it there. Om Jnana Timarandasya. You can repeat.
Om Jnana Timarandasya.
Jnananjana Shalakaya. Chakshur Unmilitam Yena. Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. And the translation, it's under the next verse. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and you can repeat that.
Born in darkness,
and my spiritual master opened my eyes
opened my eyes
with the torch of knowledge.
the torch of knowledge.
I offer my respectful obeisance unto him.
I offer my respectful obeisance.
Right, so thank you. We'll ask the host to tell us where we are at in chapter 9.
At 9:33, Maharaj.
We have been going and spending one verse per day, which is not a bad thing. It means we're going in depth. So chapter 9, text 32, all right?
33.
Oh, 30, yes, we did that last week. 33, the chapter is entitled The Most Confidential Knowledge. And I'll start. King Punar Brahmana Punya Bhakta Rajashiyas Tata Anityam Asukam Lokam Imang Prapya Bhajashva Mam. Translation. How much more this is so of the righteous Brahmins, the devotees, and the saintly kings. Therefore, having come to this temporary, miserable world, engage in loving service unto me. Would anybody like to read the first paragraph?
Yes, I can read. In this material world, there are classifications of people, but after all, this world is not a happy place for anyone. It is clearly stated here, Anityam Asukham Lokam. This world is temporary and full of miseries. not habitable for any sane gentleman. This world is declared by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be temporary and full of miseries. Some philosophers, especially Mayavadi philosophers, say that this world is false. But we can understand from Bhagavad Gita that the world is not false, it is temporary. There is a difference between temporary and false. This world is temporary, but there is another world which is eternal. This world is miserable, but the other world is eternal and blissful.
Joy, thank you so much. And I'd just like to make a remark that the first few sentences sounded extremely depressing. Talking about this world in which we live. And of course, there's incredible truth to it. However, near the end, there is some hope. And it's like going to Oz, I guess. Long journey, and then seeing Oz. Okay, but the real world is nityam, which means eternal. If you look at that in italicized words in this paragraph, a nityam refers to temporary. So nityam, without the A, refers to eternal. It's good just to grab hold of some of these Sanskrit words, because they're going to follow through throughout the books. Asukam. Sukham means happy. That's also been already declared in this chapter, chapter 9, right? Here and in other places. And where it says Rajavidya, Rajaguyam, Pavitram idam uttamam pratyaksal vagamang dharmyam, susukam karatum avyayam. Susukam, that's the word we're trying to hit on. It's the second verse from this chapter. And we had a good time with that verse. I remember it, okay? So susukam means just a happy situation. And lokam means this place, planet, whichever way you want to translate it. So asukam means place of this, the troubles are plentiful. And if there is any happiness, it's very temporary. And Prabhupada quoted from his guru, Bhaktisiddhanta, he said, this material world is no place for a gentleman. Of course, that would be a PC incorrect statement, a political incorrectness, because that also holds true for ladies. Anybody will find it somewhat tough being in this world with its dualities. I was speaking to somebody yesterday in Winnipeg, or 2 days ago. They had 30 degrees. That is, what is that? That's way up in the 90s Fahrenheit. And then they said, but it's going to go, it's going to hit 8 degrees the next day. So, oh, aren't you lucky? And 8 degrees in Fahrenheit would mean what? Can somebody help me there? 8 degrees, it's, well, it's way down, it's low. So because of the dualities, we struggle. And, because of the nature of the mind, which is chanchalam, flickering, even if things were fairly steady in this world, we would still find it a little bit, we'd find it bland. We complain, it's bland. So this is the problem with this world. We can never be quite content, in the script, if any of you have seen the little film that we did, Rolling the Dice, it was Duryodhana who talks to his father. Dhritarashtra said, content, because Dhritarashtra was saying, just be content with what you have. Let the Pandavas have something, you have something. Just be happy with what you have. So be content with what you have. Then Duryodhana shoots back, content. You may be content, but I can never be content. Okay, so Duryodhana was admitting that he couldn't change. If you're able to change, if you're adjustable, then you can be content. Just like some people have a hard time with COVID. I met one fellow in the park the other day, said, "You tell us what's your take on COVID?" And maybe I mentioned this last week. And I said, "Well, we have to learn how to adjust. And when you adjust your sails, then you can sail. If you don't adjust your sails, a current is going to come and just capsize you." And once you're in the water, it's pretty hard to get a balance. It's hard to get that boat or that kayak or whatever you have as a barge. It's hard to get it back up. Did anybody ever see? I saw a little piece of that Pirates film, the Disney thing with that Johnny. Yeah, so they were trying to, rock the boat, and so everybody went to one side to create weight, and then run over to the other side, and then they rolled it over. What are the chances of that actually happening? But it's so we are rocking that. We say that rocking the boat, and then there's always concern. A beautiful pastime of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was when he would be on a boat. It was usually those fishing boats that you have in the Bay of Bengal. And sometimes he'd be in the boat and devotees would be with him. And he would be experiencing his devotional ecstasies, his bhava. And he would kind of just lose his balance. And everyone else in there they were freaking. They were just frantic, But that's what it was like being in the company of Chaitanya. Yeah, I would say he's probably the monk of this Kali Yuga. He stands out. But why he stands out? He stands out because he manifested, he was deeply in love. He was deeply in love with God. And in that sentiment, in those emotions, he would lose control. And anybody who was with him, near him, would have to look out, watch out, anything can happen. And people envied that. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was, first of all, making inroads into Orissa and Bengal and those places where he had originally come from, everyone was enthralled. He drew the crowds, not intentionally. He wasn't being a showman, but he was displaying what we call bhava, ecstasies. And people came to him. All these peoples, it was the Hindus and the Muslims, like we discussed last week. Christians hadn't really established themselves yet in a big way, but they were all just mesmerized by him. Hussein Shah, who was, very what you call an iconoclast. He would go around breaking deities, and when he saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his ecstasy, he took it to be, these are genuine feelings. And people were awed and inspired that you could come to this level. How often do we see people, on the street and they can't walk straight, or they slur their words, or they can't walk straight, see straight, think straight. It's sometimes a little laughable. And I think there's a big part of us that feels pity. But Mahaprabhu was demonstrating those types of, let's say, emotions or reactions to his feelings, and yet it was coming from a pure source. And so that he was envied. And you can say that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in a place where he was truly enjoying, where he was content, where he was, as we say, Atma Rama. Atma means self, Rama means fully enjoying, fully in beatitude. So it was enviable. Okay, does anybody have anything that they would like to say, anything that's come up? What do you think about these depressing verses from Bhagavad Gita and purports? Anybody have any comments?
Just to confirm how depressing is this world, here in Calgary is snowing now. Thank you.
No,
Yes.
it's snowing there, and we're actually roasting.
I
They're
think
they're giving out warnings that, it's very
I think-
dense, humid, and pollen is the air, and there's some pollution, like everything's sort of hanging in one place. Wow, isn't that amazing? There you go. We're in the same land,
But-
same country. So many dualities. They
Bhakti-
send us a little bit of snow. I wouldn't mind.
Bhaktimarga,
Yes.
I think God wants us to feel compassion for people on the street in his creation.
Yes. Yeah,
He's
absolutely.
guiding us all the time, right? He
Mhm.
wants us to, feel compassion for others, right?
Absolutely.
If he didn't,
Yeah, so
It
we
wouldn't
see
be
a lot
there.
of suffering, and I'll just give you a verse, Ralph. It's called Para Dukkha Dukhi. It's 3 words, Para Dukkha Dukhi. That means, dukkha means sadness. You feel sad because others are struggling, others are suffering. It's a sensitive nerve when we see others in pain. Yeah, exactly. Now, just Chaitanya is so unique because he gave us some kind of hope. Said, yes, you can suffer a lot, but what he did was he demonstrated how you can also enjoy. In the midst of all this trouble, the troubled world, you can also have some contentment, and so he displayed that. He gave people hope. And even to this day, 500 years later, we're feeling that sense of hopefulness, that while we live in a world full of gloom and doom, there is another flip side to it all. And it's simply a matter of adjustment in attitude and spirit. So, yeah, but thank you for bringing that up. It's compassion is a big, and let's say a strong feature and the heart of a bhakti yogi. So we are going to be celebrating on the 25th the appearance of the lion avatar. And what's unique about the story, not just about the lion who came to save a little boy who was in trouble, but the little boy by the name of Prahlad was very compassionate, that even though his father was not a nice dad, I was very abusive, still Prahlad was thinking, my dad, he needs a little break. He needs to be looked at with some mercy. He needs some grace. So that was his mood. That was his sentiment. He didn't feel animosity or enmity towards his father. He just looked at the good side. Looked at the good side. So there is good in everyone, even though it's hard to sometimes detect. There are people in this world who are just mean-spirited. Like one chapter in the Krishna book is called Ill-Motivated Dhritarashtra. And ill-motivated was his son. These are stories from the book, the Mahabharata, the epic. And it's some of the major features of that great epic are highlighted in what we call the book Krishna. So, yeah, some people are ill-motivated, and usually it simply means that they were the brunt of ill-motivated people. They were at the, let's say, punishing end of someone else's anger. Yeah, so there's a lot of that going on in the world. Yeah, so let's look for hope. I think it's really important to, I would admit to say that in the Shastras, Prabhupada's purports, and in the Vedic literatures in general, you're going to have these hard-hitting verses that say, this world is a dark place, but you can bring light into it. You can continue to look at the dark, but let us find some flint stone. Let's find and let's say scrape it together and get a spark going, get a little kindling, get some dry brush, and then you can start a fire, and then you can start to see some light. So again, so if it's dark, then there's an opportunity to find light. Oh yeah.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes, that mandala.
Yes, Maharaj, my obeisances, all glories to Prabhupada.
Jai.
So, just with regards to that point, so compassion is great, and I assume most devotees feel that they have a compassionate nature. But it seems like just feeling that compassion isn't enough. So, how should we act on that compassion?
I'm sorry, your question, I had to make a little adjustment here.
No problem. So it seems like compassion is natural for most devotees to feel, but it seems like that just feeling of compassion isn't enough. So maybe you could expand on how to act on that compassion a little bit. Does that make sense? Did Maharaj cut out?
Yeah, because we can't see anyone.
Hare Krishna?
Yeah. You want to take this out?
Can you hear us, Prabhu? Vimol?
Yes, you can hear me, right?
Yep.
Oh, that's good.
Okay, so devotees are naturally passionate. Then what was the other part?
So it seems like devotees have this natural compassion, but it seems like just having compassion is not enough. So how can we act on that compassion? Or what should we do to help those people that are suffering? Maybe you could expand on that a little bit.
I think we lost him.
Yes, we can disregard that question. sorry, Prabhu.
Kalara, be nice to Maharaj.
I scared him away. Oh no.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Okay, I'm here.
Thank you.
Where is he?
Compassion. Yeah. Well, second part, please say it again.
Can you hear me now, Maharaj?
Yes, I can. I'm sorry, we had
Okay.
hiccups on this end.
Yeah, so I'll say it again. So it seems like devotees have this natural compassion, but that compassion seems like not enough just to have compassion. Maybe you could expand on how we can be active on that compassion, or act on that compassion in nature. And what should we do for those suffering souls?
Oh my gosh, Mandala. I'm sorry you've got to go through this. I guess Krishna's really wanting us to know the answer.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay.
Maybe we can just carry on, Maharaj. I think my question is glitching the system.
Okay. So, compassion was a strong feature and character of Prahlad, which we pointed out.
Mataji, I thought that with Sarthak being in Toronto, the problem was going to be solved.
Sir, go tell the Prabhu from
Maharaj, if
Maybe.
you can hear me, your mic is
Can you
muted.
hear you? Yes. I can hear you.
Okay, somehow I can hear you, but I see that your mic is still muted. I'm not sure exactly why. Something is not quite right.
Mic is muted.
I think we are going to
Okay.
Chaitanya Prabhu as your technique.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so let's try to continue on. We're going to push through. We're not we're discouraged. So devotees have a heart. And the reason is because when you enter into the zone of bhakti, you do experience some kind of satisfaction. You are touching your spirit. So when you see that others don't quite have that spirit just yet, there's a natural inclination towards wanting to share what you have. So yes, we have to have a heart. And emotions are high amongst devotees, just that our emotions are directed to the Lord and a little bit less to the self, become a little less self-conscious and more Krishna conscious. So compassion is important, and it's something that is a feature in Prahlad's character, and that's why we brought it up. So is there something more than that? Compassion is love, really. It's having love for someone. And there isn't any greater emotion. There's no greater feeling than that. If you want to go above that, I think it's very difficult. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whom we just cited as an example of someone of impeccable character, went around and shared what he felt was the best thing going. And what did he offer? What was his program? A festival, party time. Let's say a self-enjoyment program. He taught us how to do it, chanting mantras, singing, dancing, eating nice prasadam, everything which is capsulized in what is a party. He did that for us. And even something even a little bit more, even gave us some basic fundamental truths about ourselves. We're not these bodies, we're spirits. So that is, I think compassion is really a big component of what makes up a bhakti yogi, a Vaishnava. And that's really where, if you don't have a heart, you won't act. You'll just be self-contented, meaning that we have what's called Goshtanandi and Bhajananandi. Bhajananandi means I'm happy with my own budget. I'm in my own little hut, and I'm content. I don't want to bother the world. After all, it's a nasty world out there. I am simply content to be in my own little corner, in my own little chair, and I can be whatever I want to be. That's Rogers and Hammerstein's lyrics. But then there's the Goshtanandi. That is a bhakti yogi who really has a heart for other people. Well, I'm happy. Why should I be the only one content and having this Atmarama experience? I'd love to share it. Let me get it out there and do the best I can. Some people will take to it, some people will not. But at least I feel that I must share. I must give people a chance and a fair deal. If you don't have exposure to alternatives, then it almost seems like it's we're at the end of a bad deal. But if you actually have choices, real choices, when you redefine what is happiness, then you'll find it in the bhakti practice. So compassion, I think it's a big component of bhakti. I wouldn't knock it. I wouldn't say it's anything inferior. And it's compassion that compels the Lord as Paramatma in the heart to say, I'm there with you. I'm following through with you in every life, every species that you go through, every experience. I'm with you. I'll be there with you all along. And I'm just waiting for you to light up as I am lit. So the Lord says, Tisham evana kamparadam ham jnana jam tamaha nashyam yama bhavasto jnana deepena hospita. That's in chapter 10. We're going to come to it. It's one of the key shlokas, one of the key verses in Bhagavad Gita. And there Krishna is saying, I'm seated in the heart of all. And while I'm there, I'm actually lit. And I'm waiting for you to come out of the darkness. I'm looking for you to turn towards me, like that. And when that happens, then a lot of love is exchanged and appreciation. I mean, you know, compassion means what? You have an experience of pain. And so when you see others going through it, it says, I know that. I've been there and I've done that. So I'd like to do something about it. After all, someone helped me. Somebody was compassionate to me. Someone made me fortunate. So I have an obligation now to make others fortunate. So I think it's a real big, let's say, call it a prerequisite, if you will, towards, you know, establishing pure love of the absolute. Hare Krishna. I hope you all heard me. I wasn't on mute, was I, all this time?
No, we heard you.
Okay. I didn't waste my
Maharaj, thank you. You've given me so
No,
much.
but I'm not.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Bolo Bisinsa Sarvashti.
Yes, Manasi Ganga, yes.
My question is how to develop compassion towards others.
Well, how to develop compassion? If you don't,
We are having some technical difficulties. He is frozen again. So let's just chant until he comes back. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
He's back.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama.
okay, let's say you get a flat tire and it's in heavy traffic.
Use open space.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. And then you have to pull,
Yeah.
you have to pull over, and then you have to try to change the tire. Or call, what do they call that company? They'll come and solve all your problems. I don't know.
AAA.
Okay, what is it called? AAA?
AAA, yeah.
Oh, good, great. And then you're relieved. Okay, then you start driving off smoothly, you know. They fixed up your tire, you got the spare put on, maybe a temporary fix was made, a Band-Aid job was done. Okay, and then you go on, and then, hey, then you see someone else, you know, the tire collapses, and you go, oh, inside your heart, oh my God, I know what you're going through. So that's the beautiful thing about going through pain. Because when others go through it, you're relieved because someone else came along to help you. And now you feel an obligation. I must mutually act as a universal principle to give to someone what someone gave to me. Right? So I think that if you haven't felt pain, then Mataji, if you haven't felt pain, then I'm sure you can find it very easily. Just go to the right places. Hey, and sometimes what you say is true. We don't have strong feelings for others. We become, let's say, aloof or indifferent, and this is not a good spot to be in. Yeah, it's sometimes difficult to conjure up. Let's say you're at war on the battlefield. There's corpses all around you, or people are half dead, and you wish you could tend to their needs. But it's so overwhelmingly a task that there's not much you can do. You feel helpless. And in one sense, you feel compassion for them as a natural consequence, and you feel compassion for yourself. You said, because I want to do something and I can't do anything. There's nothing you can do. Like, let's go the example of the Titanic. There weren't enough lifeboats. So people in the lifeboats saw others, they were struggling. In fact, one woman who was interviewed, one of the last survivors, she said, the worst thing of the whole tragedy was to hear those people screaming and yelling in the water, struggling to stay alive, and there was no one there to assist them. And there wasn't enough room to pull anyone else in. You know, that really hit her hard. You know? So you can be assured that there's no shortage of pain that people are going through. There's no, absolutely, no one's bankrupt in this area. It is full on pain all around. But if you can hit some happy notes through the practice of bhakti, then you're good. That's why when he's prescribed 9 processes of bhakti: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Padasevanam. These are 9 principles taught by the compassionate boy of compassion. Okay, shall we go to the next paragraph? And that might be a day. Anybody you'd like to volunteer to read? Andy, will you?
But we are unable to hear you very clearly, and your picture is frozen also. So.
Yes.
Your mic is muted, Maharaj.
Okay. Let's go from here.
Sarthak, you have a Facebook or YouTube going live in the same device as Maharaj is trying to log into Zoom. So please come out of the YouTube or the Facebook.
Okay.
That's why this echo is going on.
Let's try something.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can hear you with a lot of echo.
Okay.
It's either maybe 2 devices are very close together.
Okay, somebody second.
So we cannot understand what you're saying now.
Second paragraph.
We can hear.
Someone read second paragraph, he said.
I see. Okay. Yeah, he was asking but Andy to read. Would you like to read, Andy?
Okay, which page? I'm sorry. I was in the middle of trying to make a toy for my child. What page?
415.
415.
We can do it on the laptop downstairs, 5 to 6. On the laptop, there is never with that cable connected.
Arjun was born in saintly royal family. To him also the Lord says, take my devotional service and come quickly back to Godhead, back home. No one should remain in this temporary world, full as it is with miseries. Everyone should attach himself to the bosom of the Supreme Personality of Godhead so that he can be eternally happy. The devotional service of the Supreme Lord is the only process by which all problems of all classes of men can be solved. Everyone should therefore take to Krishna consciousness and make his life perfect. Please.
Maharaj, your
Can we hear anybody?
mic is
Can y'all
muted.
hear me? Okay. I just screwed that up. Okay. It's
You
my
didn't
turn.
do anything. Andy, you're okay. You didn't.
We heard you. Okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Vaishnavi Dasi,
Yes, Prabhu.
is it that the class is ending?
Oh, you are back.
Wait, in about 20 minutes, Prabhu.
I'm sorry, Maharaj.
I cannot hear your, we cannot hear you. Maybe the mic is muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yes, Maharaj.
Okay, great. So thank you very much, Andy, for that reading, which I didn't hear. I'm so sorry. Okay. First point, Arjuna was born in a saintly royal family. This is a real plus, to be born into a family which is righteous, where people are pious. And that's one of the points that Prabhupada makes here. Look at the verse prior. It says that everyone can reach the supreme destination. That's text 32. Everybody, doesn't matter your background. This verse says, then what to speak of those who are like born, gifted, born with grace, born with piety and with a good heart. Those people are quite rare, but they do exist. And so they have such a good chance. Those are like, they're like peacemakers in society. And they're the kind of people we should be, let's say, hovering around, that sangha that we always talk about, that good company, that good association is something that we aspire for in such individuals, such Mahajans. Yeah, so the terms back home, back to Godhead, the reason why we do struggle here is because it's not our natural habitat. Our consciousness should be aligned with what's called Brahmabhuta. Brahmabhuta means spiritual conscious, because we come from a spiritual source. And because we're in a mundane existence, therefore we find discomfort. We find it very, very uncomfortable. And so therefore it's recommended. Let's go back to where you came from. Let's venture back, turn around, go back, go in reverse. So that is the objective here. And this verse confirms that everyone can go back to that Param Dhamma, that supreme, sublime place of what we call Vaikuntha. But to get there, you have to go through a lot of kunta, which means some misery. It's something you kind of have to earn. There are two components that help us to get back home, back to Godhead. And one is, the efforts you make towards becoming a pious individual. And secondly, it's grace. It's something that you didn't earn. So it's a combination of earn versus not earning. It's really a combination. That can be debatable. And, ultimately, our efforts are proven to be somewhat futile because we have our limitations. So therefore, a lot of what we call Krishna's mercy is required for us to go back. So those are some of the points. Anything else that anybody like to raise? Sorry for the technical difficulties. We don't know if it's a curse at 5 o'clock to 6. It's just because I do so many Zoom calls and I just don't have these problems at the same location. So I don't know. We'll try it downstairs. Anybody have any questions? they'd like to raise? Yeah.
Maharaj, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj, my question is as follows. What is the importance of, in relation to spiritual advancement, what is the importance of association with devotees?
Well, to become fortunate or to get that grace or mercy that we're talking about, it usually comes in the form of just having that good company, having that inspiring person or personages in your midst. It's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught, that greatest of all monks, that greatest of all sannyasis, and you can say greatest of all avatars. He said, sadhu sangha, sarva shastra kai. So he said that's the first principle. First and last, be in good company. Stay away from the bad elements. People who are just brooding in lust and anger and greed. It's just bad news. And out of compassion, we may like to take a few minutes with them and associate with them, give them something, but then it's probably a good idea to just take off, head for the hills. Don't spend much time with them. So I think our spiritual advancement, it fully depends on good company. And so that we receive from Prabhupada, and we receive it from his followers, his devotees. Yeah. That's where you get solidarity. Spiritual solidarity comes from just being in good, spiritually hot association.
Thank you, Bhaktimarga Swami Maharaj, for your wonderful answer to my question. Hare Krishna.
Well, thank you very much for the fantastic question that you brought before us.
Maharaj, by the way, I'm calling from Portugal.
Yes, I remember. Wow, how exotic. We're an international group now. We're not
Yes,
just
we are.
we're not just continental anymore.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Does anybody else have any other questions at all?
Yes, Hare Krishna Maharaj, I have a question. You just said about talking about contentment, yet in this world, especially now, contentment is considered lack of ambition, and so it's very difficult for people to say, I am content with what I have. So how, you constantly, society keeps telling you, you have to aim for more, shoot for the star and things like that. So how do we?
Well, I think it's again boils down to the last answer. Sadhu Sangha, stay in good company. I tell people, don't listen to the radio, don't listen to the news. They'll make you depressed. They'll turn you into a worrywart.
Thank you so much. True.
Yeah, I don't think that modern day current reporting is really meant for contentment. The motive behind it is to get you to spend, to be a consumer. And it's definitely there to instill fear. Fear is already a component of life. We don't need anybody to accelerate it anymore than it already is.
True.
Just like a lot of people are encouraged to have all kinds of relationships with people. Well, already people are struggling with the urge, the sexual urge. We don't need people to enhance it more. Try to just deal with the little dose that comes along with the body as it is. The solution and the answer to solution to happiness is not more, but it's to less, as we heard the saying, less is more. Less is more.
That's a good answer.
Well,
that's a good answer.
Thank you.
It agitates the mind more.
Yeah.
The TV, radio, it agitates the mind more.
Yeah, that is actually right, Ralph. I mean, it's the word you use is 100% accurate. Agitating, when it doesn't need to be agitated. You know, when the dogs are lying there on the street, let them lie. Don't disturb them. Let sleeping dogs lie. Because they'll just bark like they'll give you trouble. Just let them sleep.
I would like to add one more thing.
Mm-hmm.
The whole insurance industry is based on fear, isn't it?
Which industry?
Insurance.
Oh, yes. Yeah, most companies are. You know, I mean, really, insurance in ancient times was, if you have a real problem, your house burns down, the neighbors will come and help you build it up again. That's the insurance. You know, that, and, you know, people come forward and help each other. It's not just that you have to be paid for everything. We become so monetarily dependent that it's quite crazy. Yeah. So thank you for the insurance, you know, sentence. But what we really need to go is for assurance. The assurance that Krishna, the policy he offers to us, Sarva Dharman Parityaja, you know, shows some dependency on him. And he does come through. There are a lot of things that we cannot humanly fix when it comes to a problem. You have to, you know, invite time and patience and keep a cool head and kind of let God and nature do its work. Most things we cannot fix. At least the bigger problems. Minor problems, you give me a tool, I'll fix it for you. Yeah, but what if there's no tools for the finer problems of life?
Mm-hmm.
There are no tools other than accept time, accept patience, and let God do the work. And sometimes you just have to let karma roll out, let itself play itself out. And just accept it and stop fighting it. Isn't it?
Yes.
All right. Anything else then?
Hare Krishna. I have a question.
Arjuna, go ahead.
So like sometimes, you know, you go out and you see a lot of homeless and like sometimes I give them prasadam, but sometimes I don't have anything else to give them. But because, you know, they want money, but I don't know what they're going to use the money for. And if you give them money, they can use it for alcohol or drugs. So like if I don't have anything, I just feel bad. But I don't want to give them money either, you know. So what do you do in that situation?
Well, one thing you could do is you're a prasadam man, right?
Yeah.
You're one of the biggest prasadam producers on the continent.
I mean, I cannot make prasadam. Only Krishna can. I can cook the boga though.
Well, you put it together, right? You assemble it. So you're one of the bigger prasadam people makers in all of North America. And you're asking me what I can do.
No, but we're not so, like right now, because of the corona problem, we can't really distribute to the homeless. We used to do it, but before, because like they had trays specifically, like the handling and all that, they don't.
Yes.
Oh.
So
that's
it's
true.
It's
That's true.
unfortunate, you know. Like
well, then I think what you can do for homeless people, I would just offer your friendship.
Okay.
And the next time when they see you, they'll be inclined to talk to you a little bit more, and they're more warmed up for hearing about spiritual things. Well, you're not going to give them money, right? Because you're not supposed to give anything.
They might use it
So
for drugs. You know,
why don't you give them, that's right. Why don't you give them your friendship? Hey man, how's it going? Hey bro. Hare Krishna. What's that? Hare Krishna. It means hello.
Yeah.
It means hello in Hindi or tell them whatever. Haribol. In fact, that's oftentimes what I think people say in this thing. You know, they say hello, and I say, oh, they're saying Haribol. Start with friendship. That's how you get people interested in spiritual life. That's where a difference can come from.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. Thank you, Maharaj.
4 minutes.
We have 4 minutes.
Can you hear me, Maharaj?
Yes, I can.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Prabhupada.
All glories to Prabhupada.
This is in relation to the how to develop compassion for others. How do you develop that compassion for, I don't want to sound insensitive, but people you don't like or get along with, or who rub you the wrong way? How can you develop that same kind of compassion?
Well, one motivation, I appreciate your question, Shaswat, that's good. One motivation behind building up compassion for inimical people is that, well, if their sting is lessened, then you receive less of it, right? If somebody's a troublemaker and you have this feeling, you have this heart for them, please, Krishna, allow this person to see things in a different way. Please, Krishna, can you change this person's heart? He's an agitator, professional even. And, so that is one motivation that you have, so that your life will be a little easy. You won't get bullied by that person. So I think that's what triggers it, right? The fact that I don't want to be picked on all the time by this person. Like, Krishna, can you please help this person to mature a little bit more? Please help this person to see things from a different angle. So I think that's, let's say it's an incentive. When someone's playing rough with you, it's an incentive for you to pray. And prayer is important. It's really important. It's one of our 9 processes. Is that all about? I mean, I think of one guy in high school who's really like a bully, psychological bullier for me. I still remember his name. And he was just like nasty, gets under your skin, And I didn't know what to do about it. I'm not going to talk to the teachers. They may talk to him, and then he'll get even worse with you. You just have to sort of, accept the rough ride on the boat. And just, it builds up a little sort of inner strength. Life is tough. You build thicker skin. So it's not always such a bad thing if someone comes and gives you a little bit of a tough time. The tough skin is necessary. Have you ever seen the film footage of a lion trying to dig into like a rhino's skin? It's so thick. You just can't get in there, So thicken your skin by accepting some of the trials and tribulations of life.
And then how do you love them?
How do you love them? When you see that they're making a change. When you see that they're trying to make a change, then you look at that improvement. That's the biggest room in the palace. The room of improvement. Room for improvements, the biggest room in the palace. And the palace is always a place of intrigue. There's always someone stabbing someone, or someone's cheating on the king or the queen. Yeah. So we have to have that space in our life where we can kind of like so process these things and say, hey, that person was really nasty. He was like 100% nasty. Now he's only 75. Yay. You know, he stabbed me only 10 times. Last time was 108.
That's brilliant, Mahesh.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So I'm going to have to go now. I wish you all the best. I don't know if we have time. Did I read for you the poem about Narasimha Dev?
Yes, but we can hear, would like to hear it again.
I didn't hear it.
Do you want to hear it? Okay. So it'll take 5 minutes, okay, or less. I call this Big Cat. And because Wednesday coming up is the Narasimha's appearance, the lion avatar. So here we go. He was ferocious, yet not atrocious, bearing a gaping mouth, stretching from north to south, with terrifying jaws and matching claws, effective incisors to intimidate all misers. He tossed his lofty mane and exposed muscle and vein, releasing a deafening roar, scary to the core. You guessed it, it's a lion, invoking fear and a crying. Most amazing, though, is from neck to toe, the body was human, with emotions fuming. He appeared on the scene, challenging a man who's mean, a case of child abuse, for which there's no excuse. Our tale begins with a mean man who hails from an evil clan. Hiranya was born during a devastating storm. Ill omens could be seen. Conditions were extreme. And as he grew, his ego did too. He wanted to strike a deal with the universe, an appeal to be the most powerful person, in which case the world would worsen. To get some attention, he entered a new dimension, standing on toes, doing yogas. His purpose, most bogus. There, under the strong sun, ants ate his flesh till done. Brahma, the cosmic god, took notice, gave a nod. Hiranya thought, now he's immortal, and made his way to a portal with a transformed body, but intelligence naughty. He became empowered, began attacks like no coward. People cringed and curled in a now shaken world. He conquered every planet, no question of cannot. He eradicated the thoughtful, resurrecting the awful. Said the king of terror, I make no error. Sons Hiranya had 4, naturally to adore. Hiranya loved them all, since they began to crawl. So Prahlad, from the start, was very good at heart. He kept a major secret, one he'd never forget. When in the womb of mother came a sage like a brother, he said so explicit, identify as spirit. And there is a creator, a spirit much greater. This Prahlad kept within. The sharing of this did not begin until he was 5 at school in what is called Gurukul. He spoke to each classmate, being a simple life advocate. Hiranya then heard a report of sessions not inclined to support. For those wisdom talks held, the boy should be expelled. Challenging the authority, this is the wrong priority. Due to Prahlad's spoiling, Hiranya's blood was boiling. Because of this disclosure, the affection was over. This was most intolerable. Punishment was inevitable. The torture had commenced. In no version condensed. Astonishingly, results were nil. Hiranya just could not kill. Remembering what the sage said, the boy unharmed could not be dead. He came out unscathed. The father was simply amazed. How is this possible? By the power unstoppable, says Prahlad, present just everywhere on land, in water, in the air. Tension built up like a thriller. Hiranya pointed to a pillar. Is this power there? Absenteeism, I declare. He struck that pillar like a vicious killer. The pillar shook, was alive. It shattered, and out did arrive a lion man massive, while Prahlad remained passive. With size and sound alone, Hiranya's reality was blown. The lion man hoisted him to his lap. Now caught in a trap, Hiranya was indeed a mouse in his very own house. At the portal, he did lie. Time to say goodbye. His body had diminished. Hiranya's mission finished. Prahlad did love his dad. He wished him nothing bad. He also adored the big cat who gave the boy a pat. He was indeed ferocious, but not at all atrocious. Hare Krishna. Prahlad Maharaj ki jai. Haribol. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Curtis. Great to see you again. Jai. Anything I can do for you, let me know. I always want to repay you. Haribol. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Jai.
Hare
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha,
Krishna Maharaj,
Vikasambhyapasapatitanam, Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo.
Namo Namaha.
Jai. Let's just go downstairs. I can't, but I should be able to do